This really has become the backbone of Donald Trump's political career. Rural America has hitched their wagon to his movement, and it all started in November of 2016. It got stronger on the election of 2020, and this is the reason why running a campaign, trying to take back the White House, the president would go to a place like Butler, Pennsylvania today before tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, and knowing what a prize it is, the vice president was there today in the Philadelphia area. The first lady was there in Pittsburgh today. It is a prize, part of that blue wall that the Biden team has talked about they need to win, and that the Trump team thinks they may be able to pick off this time around. Meantime, on the political front, as we talked about moments ago, the Biden team taking down all outgoing political advertising, commercials, essentially a pause on what we are looking at in the middle of a very heated campaign season. I believe that we have Congressman Steve Scalise with us, who is a survivor of political violence. And Congressman, Bill and I were working together the morning you were shot. And thank God every day that you have recovered. But I got to ask you how this sat with you today, watching this play out.
Well, it was difficult to watch. You know, it brings back a lot of emotions. You know, my first thoughts were to pray for President Trump. You know, early reports, you really weren't sure what happened. You saw blood coming from his ear, but you know, as we see now, I mean, it was a clear assassination attempt. I think there was maybe some divine intervention in preventing that from being much worse than it could have been. There were other deaths. We pray for all of those that were injured or killed innocently. You know, the shooter was down, and you know that you saw law enforcement take swift action, and we saw that too on the ball field. Law enforcement is the first to go run towards the danger. They did it today. They did it on the ball field, and that's one of the things that keeps more people safe when evil people show up to do things like this. And there's no place for it. There's just no place for violence in our politics in America, and we can never accept it. We all need to forcefully denounce it.
Got a statement from the FBI a moment ago, sir. FBI personnel are on the scene in Butler, Pennsylvania. The FBI will continue to work jointly with the U.S. Secret Service as the investigation moves forward. Speaking of that investigation, Congressman, we're a long way from truly understanding what happened here. We're a long way from understanding whether there was one person or more than one person who showed up at that rally today. And I think about that day that you were laying on that softball field, in the baseball field rather, in Washington, D.C. with your colleagues. And a gentleman had driven from several states away. I believe it was Illinois, if my memory serves correctly. And he had a truckload of weaponry. And he'd laid in wait for you and other colleagues to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I believe that the shots hit you around 7:14 a.m. I think Rand Paul was at bat, I do believe, taking batting practice. And Brad Wenstrup, a Republican colleague of yours who did time in Iraq, he's a doctor by way of he's an expert in podiatry, and he was the one who attached the tourniquet to your body and likely saved your life. Yep. And I imagine there's a day that doesn't go by that you don't think exactly of that.
Oh, look, Brad is a hero of mine. Brad, if he would have left early like he does some practices to go to his office, he had a meeting that that got canceled, so he stayed later than he normally would have. Otherwise, I might not be here right now. The heroism of David Bailey and Crystal Griner, the two Capitol Police officers who were there that day, who risked their lives, both of them, and both were hit during the shootout and kept going at it again, risked their life to protect mine and everyone else's. I mean, the shooter's intent was to take out every Republican on that ball field. There would have been over a dozen members of Congress killed that day. But God was there too. There were miracles that happened that day, and a lot of prayer, a lot of miracles. And I know there are prayers going out right now to Donald Trump. And look, just remember, that night Donald Trump came to the hospital to check on me and just to console my family. And that was his birthday. He left a birthday party to come and check on me, and just the kind of person he is. I texted him a little while ago because he's a special man. He's a strong man. I know that. But he's a caring person. He cares about people. He cares about this country. And, I know there are a lot of prayers going out to him right now, as well as to the families of those who were also injured and killed.
Just one more question to you, sir. And thank you for being with us here. The baseball game was played among Democrats and Republicans. And as I recall, that was a moment of bipartisanship that Americans rarely see. And it's far too early to know the impact of a moment like this, but many have called to lower the temperature already. What's your sense about where that goes during an election season?
Yeah, I think, when you hear all these calls and, you've been hearing it for months, gee whiz, if Donald Trump wins, it's going to be a threat to America. Those kind of things, that incendiary rhetoric needs to stop because all it takes is one person who's just unhinged to hear that and go act on it and think that that's their signal to go take somebody out. And we saw it in the case with the baseball shooting with me. And, it was somebody who was hearing far left rhetoric that was it was over the top and he acted on it. And, in this case, we'll find out more information. We don't need to jump to conclusions, but I think we can all say it would be good if the rhetoric just gets dialed down. Let's focus on the issues that people care about. This is a great country. This is the greatest country in the history of the world. But we have problems, and let's talk about those problems, how to fix those problems. And I think that's where most Americans want to be. And let's have a next few months focus on how we get this country back on track. And I think that would be better for all of us.
Sir, thank you. Steve Scalise, the Republican from Louisiana. Really appreciate your input. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.